Hello, I'm Monica Price and welcome to a very special Halloween Cuppa TV. We should be talking ghosts and ghouls, good and bad, and learning all about Halloween and how it began. My first guest today is Sandrea Mosses, a lady who has seen international acclaim with her work as a medium, author and psychic. Sandrea, welcome back to Cuppa TV.
Hi Monica, thank you for asking me.
Thank you for coming on our Halloween special.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to this.
What do you think of the set? Have I dressed it accordingly?
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
Now Sandrea, there's lots to talk about, but the one of the things I actually wanted to ask you, the very first question actually, was what is Halloween? So, you know, there's lots of people perhaps even don't celebrate it or think it's too commercial, but where does it actually come from?
There would be a bit of a debate there.
We like a debate.
The early Christians would say that it's All Saints' Day, which is on the 1st of November, which was All Hallows' Day, as it was called, and so the eve before is where All Halloween has come from, yes. Is what the early Christians would say. But pagans and druids claim their rights to it and say, no, it belongs to our ancient beliefs, our ancient festivals. And the idea is that it represented the end of the summer, and it would be the time when they would bring the animals in, they would take the summer would finished, or the harvest would have been collected by then, and it would have been a celebration to celebrate moving from the summer to the dark winter months. And there would have been rituals, there would have been food offered out to the gods, and so that's where it came from.
Because people celebrate still, don't they, with the pagans and the druids? They go off and do exactly that. They celebrate the beginning of Halloween, don't they?
Yes.
So is it... So it stems from, well, two different areas really, depending on what you believe in really. But how is it for you though, Sandrea? As a, you know, you're a psychic, you're a medium. How do you see it?
To be honest, I don't think there's a lot. I'm sorry for all you people out there who think it's wonderful. I don't think there is a lot of difference. People say because it was the changeover for the period of Samhain, which is Wicca, it was the changeover from the light to the dark, and it's where the veil is meant to be the thinnest part of the year. And so that's why people think it's the ideal time for ghouls and ghosts. But really, I don't think it's any different. The ghosts will appear when they're going to appear. They won't appear on Halloween. They're going to appear, if I'm talking about an anniversary ghost, that anniversary ghost is going to appear at the time that is significant to those.
So really, there's no set time. It's just a time of the year that's become really commercial, even, would you say?
Yes, I think America commercialised it. The early Christians who went to America celebrated it over time. The card industry in the 1800s added witches to the cards, but the cards for Halloween never really took off, although they're trying to bring it back again now, and that's where witches were introduced to it. So before that, there was no connection with witches in terms of old Christianity, modern Christianity, and it's commercialised, absolutely.
Well, I mean, on the show today, we're going to be talking to two ladies.
Yes.
One who's had a bad experience with the
yes.
ghost, and also a lady who's had good experience with the
yes.
ghost.
Yes.
So tell us about the ghosts. Are there good and bad ghosts?
Yes, absolutely. You know, unfortunately, yes, there are good and bads. Often we associate with a good ghost, we'll associate what's often called a crisis ghost, and they will visit you before at a time of crises. And I remember when my brother was on a life support machine, and my son, who's not really into all this, he had a dream, and my brother walked down a white tunnel to him and said to him, I can't come back, my body's shot, I can't make it. And that was what you would say, a visit from a crisis ghost. It's come to warn you, it's come to prepare you, you know. So that's a connection, you know, with a soul that's moved on, that's lived on.
Is that when people say, you know, I mean, loads of people have always saying, it's been documented, they see a white light, you know, when they're in hospital and they see a white light, if they're just on a life support machine, or they feel that they're just about to leave their body. Is that? That's
the doorway.
That's the doorway.
It's the doorway, it's the veil between the two worlds. It's where the veil opens and the soul moves from this world and it moves into the next world.
And with the ghosts, with the good ghosts and the bad ghosts, sorry to put it like that, but for our viewers that are out there, I mean, do people believe in ghosts? Have you seen a sort of if you like, an increase in people interested now in the paranormal?
Yeah. Do you know anybody that doesn't believe in ghosts? Do you know anybody that doesn't like to hear a ghost story? Yes. I remember as a child, my father telling us a story and us sitting around in the dark listening to the story. And it was a story of the mines, and it was the mines in Brawley Hill, and about the footsteps on the coal, and them saying it was an omen. And half the men walked out, and half the men stayed, and the next day there'd been a fall, and half that stayed were trapped inside the mines. And so it's that ghost story. Everybody loves a ghost story, but I think in recent years there's been a huge increase through the programmes, the entertainment programmes of Paranormal.
There's been many films as well, hasn't there?
Yeah, which it all revives it, and then people take an interest. And you know, Monica, in some ways there's nothing wrong with that, because at least people are stopping and thinking, there's more to life than this. There's more to this world here. There is a world beyond this. You know, that there is something exists outside that we live in here. And that waking up is good. But I don't know whether I agree with some of the spook entertainment.
Yes, I mean, because there's lots of things like ghost hunting. People go ghost hunting now.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Well, again, the ghost hunting, I don't have a problem with that, because I think at least people are tuning in and they're trying to find out. You know, there are ghosts everywhere, and at least people are tuning in. But most of the time they don't help the ghosts, especially if it's a lost soul that's trapped. It's almost like going and watching somebody who's been run over, really, and going back and having another look at them. But it's some of the practices that take place with it that concerns me, especially the Ouija boards. I mean, to me, an Ouija board is you're giving your permission, you're focusing your energy, you are giving your permission for anybody to come through that board. It is almost like having a party on a Saturday night and putting it on Facebook and leaving your front door open. Would you? No. You'd want protection, wouldn't you? You'd want to know who's coming to your party. You'd limit the amount of people that were able to come to your party. You'd have your door locked and you'd check who came through the front door. And so I think ghost hunting responsibly, I think, is wonderful. It's attuning you into it. But there is a lot of spook entertainment. There's a lot of people making a lot of money out of and having no idea. And I think you have to have a medium there, because how can you, if you're not a medium, how do you know what's there? A machinery can't tell you.
Well, and also when people go to these events, which have become very, very popular now, all across the UK, in fact, all across the world, are people actually gaining from that? Do you think, Sandrea, or do you think people are actually just not actually seeing the real truth, if you like, about spirits?
I have to say that, you know, sometimes people are gaining. Something is following them home and it's tormenting their lives when they get home. But no, I don't think they are. But hopefully what happens is somebody goes to something like that and they then start to explore more, and they start to think there's got to be more to life than this, and they start to look into it, and they start to look deeper, and they start to look at spirituality and starting to find, you know, there is another world out there.
And do you think people are looking now more, Sandra, to looking at their spirituality and looking beyond, you know, this life? Do you think people are now taking an interest?
Do you know, I remember going into Waterstones 25 years ago in Birmingham, 5 floors, and there was one slot of books, esoteric books, and it was probably about 5 feet up to about 6 feet high. Now they have a whole floor. There's a whole wake up of angels, people interested in ghosts and ghouls. There's a whole entertainment history, industry on it.
Yes, I mean, and again, you look at Hollywood with the paranormal films, and people are just obsessed with those films. Why do you think that is?
I think we all want to think there's something out there. We all want the idea of Himley Woods, where I live, the idea of Gideon Down galloping across the woods in the middle of the night. his hooves being heard, you know, as your car engine cuts out. We all like that spook factor, don't we?
Yes.
So I think that's what's driving it on. But it's this drive towards glass divination, which is another name for a Ouija board, that concerns me. Not the actual hunting, it's this need to delve into the darkness of things that you don't know what you're playing with. Do you know you can even get Ouija boards for children in America? Pink ones, yes, Barbie coloured pink Ouija boards. They've been banned in England apparently.
Have they? But can you get those in the UK?
You can get. You can't. I think there was a right furore about it, and I know Amazon withdrew them. But at one time you could get a pink, like not by Barbie, but like a Barbie pink Ouija board for your child to play on.
Why do you think they've done that? Is it because just from a commercial point of view, just to make money?
Yeah, I think it's a commercial point of view. The Ouija board actually roots back. It's a bit like Hoover. It's a commercial name. It's patented. It can't be used by anybody else. And Hasbro brought it out in the 1920s, so it's actually a commercial thing. But I just think people are playing with danger when they're playing with the Ouija boards.
Again, and that's where you come in, though, Sandra, with your expertise, because as a medium, and you've written books, you know, and you travel and you speak to people around the world. Do you find that people just don't have a full understanding of what they're actually dealing with?
I don't think they have a full understanding, and when somebody has a problem, there's a big stigma associated with a haunting or being haunted. You know, to say to somebody, my family's been tormented, means you're not looking after your family, doesn't it? You know, it's a thing for a male that he can't watch after his family, that he can't look after his family. So I think there's a lot of stigma attached to being haunted or having problems.
And I mean, and in America, we spoke about America having, you know, they go full blast on Halloween. Everything's Halloween. If you happen to go out there at this time of year, everything will be smothered in Halloween decorations, pretty much like the set today. And they all go ghost hunting and things like that. Again, does that have a detrimental effect, or is that having a good effect, do you think?
I think the good effect is you're opening your mind to thinking, there is more to life than this. There is more than this, yes. You know, we open our eyes, we open our mind to the idea of things of like the will-o'-the-wisp, ancient spiritual pathways that there are, and places that are copse and woods that we shouldn't go in of a night time. You know, we open our mind to fairies, elves, you know, ghouls. So that's a good idea that we're not limiting our minds to this very, very narrow world. But the negative side, I think, is when people then don't responsibly practice and they start opening themselves up and using a Ouija board, any other type of divination. I think that's when it becomes negative. That's when it becomes negative. I don't think it's negative otherwise.
No. And when you're working with people, Sandra, I mean, we've got to the two ladies that are going to join us today. You know, they've had experiences, good and bad. Is that often the case?
There is. I think there's far more good out there than there is bad. And we talk about hauntings, but if we looked at, because there's different categories. There are people that are lost souls that are trapped here, intelligent beings, they're demons, demonic, disembodied entities. They can communicate with you, they can listen to you, they have intelligence. Those are the really bad ones. But most of all, people have good experiences, you know, where a loved one will come back and they will try to help you, they will try to look after you, they will do anything they can to reach you, just to say, I'm okay, and just to try to offer you comfort in, you know, to you while you're left here breaking your heart. And people will talk about lying there sobbing uncontrollably. I remember doing it when my mum died, and then suddenly this serenity coming over you, this peace coming over you, and this sense of love that you can't describe. And as a medium, I'm going to know that, wow, they've managed to get their energy and they've just sprinkled it over you, and they brought you the calm and the peace. They will do anything they can to help you because they come in with love.
And that's, I'm going to say, that's the key then. But when you come in with love,
yes,
that's what, if you like, it really takes on board a new sort of dimension for the person they're coming to. Is that how it works?
It's a love, you know, that they're coming through. When there is a connection, there is a love connection. All they're interested in is your well-being. All they're interested in is making life easier for you. Not controlling your life, not getting your pathway, but just giving you love, giving you that dream that keeps you going, giving you that rainbow, giving you that feather that drops all over the place, you know, in the most bizarre places, just to say, you're not alone.
Now, what's the meaning of that, Sandra, when you have a feather that drops in front of you?
A feather is a sign that, you know, it's angelic visitation, whether it's your guide, husband, mother, father, it is an angelic visitation. And I've had some amazing experiences. And the things that people have told me of feathers appearing, you know, I've sat there and watched feathers in wave lights go along and just pass, and pass along and fall on top of me when I've stood in a car park, feeling very miserable,
so
and very faded. Oh yes, they're there to give you hope. They're there to give you light. They're there to give you love, and they're there to say you are not alone. We can't change what's happening to you. We can't change your pathway, but we can give you signs to say we're here. We're trying to help you.
And I mean, it's like everything in life. There's the yin and the yang, the dark and the light,
absolutely,
you know, the good and the bad. And when you're working with people, Sandra, do you find some of the things you must have had been very disturbing, I'm sure. But do you find that you just have to? Well, how do you do it? Do you take yourself out and just? How does it work? Do you get embroiled with it when you're talking to a client that's perhaps having a bad experience?
Yeah. Oh, I never work alone because I have nothing to validate. If I walk in there, I've got nothing to validate that tells me that little girl sitting there is really a little girl. Yes, not a demonic force that's pretending, that's shape-shifting to be somebody else. And one of the guests that are here tonight, after meeting her many years ago, is now a medium herself who works alongside me and works with me. And so I want somebody there. So my only tool is my psychic gift and validation. So I'm not going to say what I can see. I'm going to ask them. And when they say to me that they're drawn to that left-hand corner and there's something black crouched down, and that's exactly what I'm seeing, I've got my validation. I've now got it. And what we're going to do is we're going to join our energies together. And when we join our energies together, we're powerful. And we're then going to join with the other side. And so we're joining with the other side together. I'm not going to do the work. It's going to be my guides. It's going to be the ones over there that are going to come back. And that lost soul that can't find that light, they're going to nurture. And they're going to use me as an earth being to be able to say to them, your mum is there. It is your mum. Reach for the light. Walk to the door. Your mum's holding her hand out for you. Look at her. And I'm going to nurture them and nurture them to the door.
Yes. Well, we're going to take a quick break now, but stay here, Sandra. So stay with us and come back and join us just after the break. Welcome back to Cuppa TV. We now welcome Louise Lathe, who has been affected by ghosts and paranormal activity. So Louise, thank you so much for joining me on Cuppa TV and for sharing your story. So you've obviously been working with Louise, Sandra, so tell us how this all came about.
I became involved with Louise, we didn't realise it was that long, about 5 years ago. And 12 months previously, Louise used to live in a house that was allegedly built on top of a cemetery. And somebody allegedly had done an Ouija board in the house. And the whole family were being tormented. And so Louise literally did a moonlight flits and for 12 months had peace. And after 12 months, and her daughter kept saying, Jezebeth is looking for us. 4 years old this child was. Jezebeth is looking for us. Mummy, she's going to find us. She will find us. And
this was the name of the spirit?
The demon.
Yes.
The demon.
Yes, originally my 4-year-old daughter we thought she had an imaginary friend called Rebecca. And that's what she used to talk to us about. Rebecca wanted her to do things. And Rebecca had told her about Ouija boards at the age of 4, which we were very confused about, because obviously 4-year-old, we would never have discussed anything with her. And sort of the key factor was, she said, somebody's opened the doorway by using a Ouija board.
And your 4-year-old
My
said
4-year-old daughter, yes.
Right.
And obviously then we started to panic and we thought, what's going on? And yeah, she spoke about Rebecca a lot. And one day she said Rebecca had got very angry and took her face off. And she had to start calling her Jezebeth, which then we got very worried and got in touch with yourselves, because we just needed confirmation really that we weren't going mad.
Did you feel that it was, what did you feel at the time, Louise?
Scared, very scared, because we started seeing things in the house. My husband saw arms open a door and bang it off the window, and it came back and hit our daughter, one of our older daughters, and he wasn't a believer.
I was going to say, now there'll be some viewers who are going to be believers, and there's going to be some viewers who will be watching this and thinking,
yeah, he wasn't a believer at all.
So how did you cope with that? Because your brain must have been, the logical brain must have been saying, no, that must have been the wind, or
we tried
something,
everything.
or...
My husband, he literally tried everything. He opened windows, doors, everything to try and recreate what happened. And it was a very heavy door, so there was no way it could have done it with the wind or anything like that. And it was at that point that my 4-year-old daughter, she started to become very, very scared, and she wouldn't go upstairs. And she kept saying, don't let her younger brother go upstairs, because Rebecca wanted to hurt him. So yeah, it got really bad. And
who was Rebecca?
She's a demon, and the 4-year-old could tell you. She could describe this demon to you. by the time we got involved, the family were literally sleeping downstairs because they were terrified, because things would jump on them in the bed, things would pin them down on the bed, things would drag them out of bed.
So how long ago was this?
It was in 2009.
So we're talking. This is not. You know. This is now. This
no.
is what happens
My
now.
4-year-old is now 10.
So sorry, Sandra. Carry on. So you had. So you were being pinned down.
Yeah.
You had all these.
They had very, very heavy wooden step ladders, and they'd moved the wooden step ladders upstairs because the neighbours complained it sounded like heavy chests of drawers were being dragged around the loft, and so they had so that they could go up the stairs, and so the step ladders were thrown at them. There's footage of the step ladders spinning on the stairs. There's a photo of them precariously balancing, of moving up and down the stairs. They had animals mysteriously die, the dogs howling for hours on end, knives that would stick to the wall. The just list was just went on and on of what the family were being subjected to. But the first time I went in there, Louise had got the younger children out of the way, all out the way, so we went in the house, didn't want them to expose that. And a daughter came back in, as the uncle brought a daughter back in, she ran in the room going, "Mummy, mummy, mummy, what have you done? Jezebeth is so angry with you, she's going to hurt us now." And how did that child know? She didn't know that we'd been there, she didn't know that we were coming, and yet she'd been communicating, she was actively communicating with this demon.
And is that quite common for the demons to communicate with the children?
Yes, believe it or not, because children are those, and I do feature this in my book, that I've had many cases where the children are susceptible, they're psychic. It's only as we get older that we lose that connection with the side, and so they're much more easy to communicate with. But I've got to say, her daughter's a very special little girl. It was a very, very gifted little girl who can see almost like between the two worlds.
And how about for you, Louise? What happened? What was happening to your family life at the time?
Well, obviously the children were all in school.
So you have one daughter.
I have 3 daughters and 2 sons.
Right.
And at the time, the 3 older ones were in secondary school, so they were out all day. And Hagen and Iden were going to nursery and play school. I wouldn't be in the house on my own. It was awful when you was on your own in the house.
Did you feel anything?
Yes, it was just horrible. I feel like we were terrorised.
Cold and stank.
It was cold.
Sorry to cut across you. The stench.
Yeah.
Worse than that stench you've got downstairs here in the studio today.
Yes.
Worse than that, the whole house, the stench. It would almost make you retch.
Yeah.
With the stench of it, of like rotting.
It was
yeah.
It was
And
horrible.
did you obviously you could smell that? You could smell that as an act.
Yeah, well, when you came in, I got the air fresheners all around the house. You had to ask me to turn them off, didn't you? Because nothing could get rid of the smell. It was that overpowering. You just could not get rid of the smell.
It would choke you.
Yeah.
And what were your sort of friends and family saying?
They were very intrigued. At first, I thought, I'm not going to tell anybody, they're going to think I'm mad. And then you start to doubt yourself and think, did we really see it? Are we imagining what's going on? Is somebody in the house doing it? When all your children are fast asleep downstairs and you're sitting there and you can hear running across your bedroom floor and running up and down the stairs and things being thrown down the stairs, you know there isn't anybody there, then you sort of have to think, okay, this is definitely happening. But like I said, I personally would never be in the house on my own. It got to one point I climbed out of the window. I was that scared. I wouldn't go past the stairs.
So
I literally climbed out the window.
So it had a dramatic effect on your life.
Definitely.
Louise. And how did you get through that?
With the help of Sandrea and her team that were coming in, you sort of kept it at bay for a little bit at a time. And
how do you do that, Sandra? What do you do?
Fortunately, she would find a doorway back in. We couldn't shut the original doorway because we couldn't get into the property where she'd come from. So it was almost like she had a loop. So we could remove her minions, and that she had. The shadow men. You could stand and watch the shadow men walk across the walls, and as much as they could intimidate you, because they're not coming in love, they're coming through fear. There's only two basic emotions, love and fear. And the more fearful they can make you, that is their food. They're going to eat on that fear, so that they're going to keep upping the levy and upping the levy to make you as frightened as they possibly can. Because every time you do that, bang, you're giving them that, you're giving out those energies. I mean, she was actually appearing. They were seeing her. Your daughter-in-law saw the hag over. She opened the bedroom door and she was over a baby, as if going to pick up a baby.
Yeah.
And
Did you see that?
There was 15 of us that witnessed this thing
So
happening.
you actually saw the image of somebody.
It was like, I'm looking at you, but she looked all wet, and it was just horrible.
And what did everybody say? What was their reaction?
Well, when that happened, obviously everybody was very scared, and we were scared really for the baby more than anything. So we all ended up on the driveway of the house and thinking, do we go back in? Where do we all go? And then a couple of friends had passed at that time the house and asked what was going on, and we sent them in and said, can you go and just have a look? And there was one particular friend of mine, he believed in things but never seen anything, and he literally come out white. He said, I'm never going in your house again. So it scared all of us, and then all of us at the same time saw this image of a hag standing in the bedroom window, which obviously then we all looked at each other and said, oh, we all seen the same thing. And there was 15 of us.
all captured, you can see her as clean as anything.
Yeah.
This black shadow in the window.
Yeah, red eyes as
Yeah.
well.
Watching.
So it obviously terrorised you.
Yeah.
Would you say that?
Yes,
Would you say that was
definitely.
a fair? So
Definitely.
how is it now for you? Have you moved?
We have moved again, and it's been relatively quiet.
Did you
until-
move because of the
Yes.
situation?
Well, the house was sort of falling into the ground.
Explain that.
It was a very big house that we lived in, and we started noticing after about a year of living in there, the floors started to subside, and we thought that's a bit strange. We ended up with a big crack in the wall from top to bottom of the house, and from the outside you could see the house was sort of going in on itself. And we woke up one day and the extension had caved into the kitchen. And that was the day we literally just moved out that day. But I think I remember a year or so before you said, I have a feeling this house is going to cave in. And it did. It did happen.
You could feel it, like almost turning in on itself. And we would go there and we would clear it. And she would offer soldiers. She would offer those forward and keep pushing. She would gameplay with you, and she would appear there and appear there. And when the child is actually saying to you, because in the end I had to have the children in the house to keep them safe. She's there. She's upstairs. You know, I've had this happen to me time and time again with children. They can see, even when they're not in the room, they know what's going on and they can see what is happening. And that house was just so dark and dank.
Yeah.
And when Louise said about the smell, I'm talking about you going in there. You know, when I've worked around care and hospitals and for a long time, but when you go in there, people would retch. The stench would be unbelievable. It would be acrid, as if, you know, there'd been 1,000 cats have been kept in the rooms, you know, with no litter tray.
Yes. Well, listen, we have to leave it there. We've got to take a break. But thank you so much, Louise, for joining me. Thank you. So stay with us. We're going to be back straight after the break. Welcome back to Cuppa TV. My next guest is Lyn Slim, a lady who has had positive experiences with the paranormal. So Lyn, thank you so much for joining me on Cuppa TV.
Thank you for inviting me.
Wonderful to be here. And Sandra, we've been talking, the whole show's been about ghosts and paranormal, but Lyn, you've had good experiences. We've just heard about Louise's experiences, but tell us a little bit about what you've been experiencing.
My experience started just over 11 years ago. I came home and unfortunately I found my husband had died very unexpectedly, and it was like my world had just dropped out the bottom of it. It was just, my whole world had gone completely. But my friend, his mum was a medium, and she ran a spiritualist church in Smethwick, and she invited me to come along to one of the services about 3 weeks after my husband had passed. I'd always been a believer, so I went along and I sat there, and this medium came on and started to give people messages, and I was very lucky that I received a message. But what it gave me was so much information that nobody knew. There was things that only me and my husband could possibly know. She told me about a letter that I'd written him, and I put it into his jacket pocket before he was buried. She told me that I put 2 pictures in there. She told me the contents of the letter. Nobody knew the contents of that letter because I was in the house on my own when I wrote it and put it into his jacket pocket. But she gave me so many memories, and she gave me the feelings of hope, because I knew he'd survived and I knew that he'd gone to a different dimension. And although I was going through excruciating pain, it gave me a light at the end of the tunnel.
So it made you believe, is that what
It did make me believe I could not, because the information I was given was so accurate that nobody could have known.
And again, for viewers that are watching who are just going to say, there must have been a way that she could have found out that information, did you think that as well? Were you a bit sceptic, or how did you feel?
No, I wasn't a sceptic at all, because I didn't know who was going to be on that evening, and the medium doesn't know who's going to walk through the doors. I'd never met the medium that night.
So, I mean, Sandra, what do you say about that?
I have to admit, I was the medium.
I thought you might have been.
I mean, I was the medium, and I'd never met Lyn before. I didn't know Lyn. I was just doing a service. I was doing an evening of clairvoyance, and I just happened to go to Lyn and just give her the message. And you know, that is the upside of mediumship, and mediumship is very, very much proof to the person. It's what matters here. When somebody says, I mean, I didn't realise at the time that she was alone, but, you know, he gave me those. Why did he give me so much? I mean, he was a very good communicator, so he'd only been gone 3 weeks. He came through with such strength because there was so much love there between the two of them. And he just wanted to give her the strength just to keep her going. I mean, I remember looking at her thinking, I don't think she's going to make this. I remember feeling that at the time, that she wasn't going to make it because the pain was so devastating he was showing me. Yeah. And that's the upside of mediumship. It's about you receiving something that tells you that that is your mum, your dad, your husband, your child. You know here in your heart.
And did that change your life? Just having that person
sitting
talk?
there, sitting there for and having that message for 10 minutes. And I watched and I listened to all the other information that she was giving to other people, so mine wasn't just a fluke, because the information that she was giving to everybody else was very accurate. And as I watched her, I thought, I didn't get the chance to say goodbye to my husband, so I thought, well, if she can talk to him, then so can I. And I thought, well, if she can do it, so can I, but I'm going to be better than her. So you have to give yourself a goal, don't you? Yeah, you have to give yourself a goal. So that's from that evening, that's what I did. I went out that evening uplifted, but then I went home and thought, right, how am I going to do this? So I sort of sat down and researched, well, how can I do this? And the first thing I had to do was learn how to meditate.
And is that how it stems, all from meditation?
Meditation is the quietening of the mind. I would say, how can you receive if your mind never shuts up? It's not the mobile phone. If you're on the phone, I can't get through. So what you've got to do is quieten the mind so that you can receive the communication, because otherwise your mind's going, never put that note down, forgot to do so-and-so, note to self, don't use this route again in the car, I'll just give so-and-so a quick ring, bang, 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 bang. And that's why people often have experiences in the night. Because your mind's quiet. They can actually get through.
Still.
You've shut up. You've shut up, the world can reach you. Yes. It's not a case of they're going to frighten you, it's just a case of they're sitting there and they'll wait for that time for you to be quiet, and that's when they'll communicate with you.
And you're now a medium, Lyn?
Yes, I decided to meditate. It wasn't my intention to be a medium. I just wanted to talk to my husband. So once I mastered the meditation, and I could hold it for 15 minutes without the mind jumping in saying, oh, you need bread tomorrow, or you need milk. And my guide walked in, and I saw him as clear as day, and he was a little Chinese man, and his name is Zen. And we went on many, many, many journeys after that point, but he made me promise that I would sit and meditate every day for half an hour, and I did that religiously for 5 years.
Really? And how did that make you feel better about yourself and how you viewed life, and obviously to get over the harrowing experience of losing your husband?
It did, because I was being taken on a journey, and most of the time at the end of the meditation session, my husband would be standing there waiting for me, so I would get that 2 or 3 minutes just to be able to talk to him and communicate with him.
And Sandra, would you say that happens a lot, for people that have come to you? Do they want to explore it themselves after they've been to you?
I think she's a little unique.
Yeah.
I think she's a little different to most people. But what people will do is they will search, and it will give such joy just to know. I mean, I remember, and I was a medium then myself, or starting on my pathway. I remember when my mum died 17 years ago and thinking, there's got to be more to life than this. Does that mean I'm never going to see her again? Is that it? Is that doorway shut? The person who was my mum, am I never going to be able to communicate with her again, ever? And it's just that feeling of it's just the end, isn't it? Just the finality. But it isn't. It isn't the end of it. And I think Lyn is very unique. But lots of people do through paying. They'll go to the Spiritualist Church, they'll go to the Christian Spiritualist Church or the SNU Church, and they'll find such comfort and joy that they will then start to try to work to give something back to what that church has given them.
So again, it's got nothing to do with religion, would you say, Lyn? It's whether you're a believer or a non-believer. No. It's all to do with what? How would you sort of put it?
It wasn't religion. It's part of your spiritual pathway, and that's what it was for me. That was the beginning. It's like one doorway closed, but another doorway opened, and that put me on my spiritual pathway.
And do you help other people now? Do you do the same?
I do. Unfortunately, the spirit world are very, very clever at once they've got you hooked. I do spiritualist churches. I do. Go out ghost busting, as we call it, into properties. I'm a Reiki healer, so I give a lot back. I teach in the church where I was given that original message, so that I can give something back to the church that gave me so much for so very long.
And has it changed your life?
Oh, completely and utterly. Completely and utterly. That life, when I walked through that door, when my husband passed, that doorway closed, but walking into that church 3 weeks later opened the doorway for me and has given me a completely different life.
And do you feel, I mean, we were speaking with Sandra, do you feel that more people are becoming interested now in the paranormal and if you like, of life after death, for want of a better word?
I think there's been a great awakening around the planet, and people want to know more, I think.
Why do you think that is?
It's just a spiritual progression for all of us.
It has to change, doesn't it?
We have to be enlightened.
We can't carry on abusing the planet and annihilating the planet. There has to be an awakening. There has to be a point when we have to move beyond technology, and then we have to stop and think, this is a planet we're living on here. What's going to be here for our children? Plastic? Yes, is it a plastic planet? Is all we're going to leave, and our grandchildren and their grandchildren? Or are we going to nurture this planet? Are we going to be in touch with this planet? And are we going to leave something, something, a heritage to be proud of, rather than something to think, my goodness, look what we did, look how we decimated the land.
I mean, you've written a book, haven't you? Tell us about your book, Sandra. Did you write that out of just all working with somebody like Lyn and just your experiences with Louise as well? Is that how it came about?
I started writing the book because I've gone and helped people for about 14, 15, 16 years, and I never wrote a book. And my husband used to say to me, do you know, Sandria, people are going to want to hear these stories. Write them down. And I wrote all these stories down. And it must be 3 or 4 years ago, Llewellyn's, which is the biggest esoteric book publisher in the world and the oldest in America, took an interest in it. So there are 32 stories in this book, and there are some where Lyn have gone with me, and some, Linda Elstob used to come out with me a lot as another medium, and Martin Morsley and Karen Morsley. I've gone out with quite a few other mediums, and it's just a collection of all these different stories, including a section on psychic children, just like Louise was talking.
Just like Louise was talking about earlier.
Yes.
And do you find that, as mediums, when you get together, how is it? Do you find you've got that sort of common thread? Is that what links you together, or do you how does it work? Do you work together?
Yes, we work together.
Tell us about that. So what have you been working on together?
We go out and we do clear properties of negative energies, or we'll help lost souls go over. But we work as a team, But I really enjoy going out and working for the light and sending the darkness back over to where the dimension that they belong in. It's not right that people are terrorised in their own homes, and it's good that we can go back and combat these and send them back to where they really do belong.
Would you agree with that, Sandrea? It's a main sort of aim, if you like, of the medium to send back the bad and bring in the good.
It is. We meditate together. This sounds, you know, a night out. Oh, let's meditate. But, you know, I still sit in Development Circle now after all these years because I still want to continue to move on. And I've got a group of mediums. We're friends together, and we sit together usually once a fortnight and just bring in the light and just and just tune in and put positive energy around the world. And it sounds
because between you all work in different ways. Even though you're a medium, surely it must be quite unique. Is that right?
It is. We do all work in different ways. Lyn and I go the extra mile. We do sometimes. We'll go out and just put some positive energy through the planet. But I will always help somebody who is being tormented. Monica, it's so hard. How do you go to somebody and saying, I can't protect my family, that we are being tormented by a ghost? And people, you will get loads of people, I'm sure, complain about this programme. Ghosts don't exist, it's all in your mind, it's a load of rubbish, it's in your imagination. You try sitting there when your lights are going on and off. Your lights are going on and off, and there's a scream penetrating through your house, and your children are crying, "Mummy, mummy, help me, help me," and to say there's not a problem there. You know,
it's very as you say. There's always different opinions, isn't there? Some people, as you say, are going to think this is just a load of rubbish. Other people are going to say, well, actually, these experiences have happened to me. What would you say, Lyn, to the viewers that are watching?
You can't comment until you've experienced it, but I would ask you to have an open mind, because there's more to this world than just the physical and the 3D.
And what about Halloween itself? We were speaking to Sandra about Halloween. You know, I've got my pumpkin here beside me today, but you know, this is sort of how we've dressed today is how we perceive Halloween to be. But what's your perception of it?
Being a medium and being at work, people will always say to me, "Well, this is your busy time of year because it's Halloween, and where's your broomstick?" Yeah,
I have one.
Yeah. She does actually have a broomstick. It's
true.
It's very true, but that's just people's perception. It's how they've been taught as they've grown up as a child, isn't it? You know, if you just look at it, to me, I think it's very commercialised. It's just a materialistic thing to put money in the till.
Yes, and as you were saying then, Sandra, it's really the spirits are around all the time.
Yep.
Yes.
They don't have to come out at Halloween.
They're 24/7.
Yeah. And do they, when you're working, do you find sometimes, have you been in any cases where you've had quite, maybe not a tragic, but someone when you've been compelled to speak to, but maybe haven't even approached you? Has that ever happened to you?
You know, sometimes you can pick up on these things. You get drawn. I can't tell you how I get drawn, but sometimes you can look at someone and something draws you to it. Sometimes they change the light around them, but that's just how my guide works with me, and then you know that you've got to go and speak to them, but I don't know why until you actually start holding a conversation.
Do you the same, Sandra, as well?
It's very difficult to just approach people and just go up and say that.
Hello.
And you know,
I've got your grandstanding behind you.
I always remember being on the 525 Birmingham to Euston with my grandson alongside me, and this woman saying to me, "That's my granddaughter opposite," and me saying in my head, "If you think on the 525 Birmingham to Euston on a Friday night, I'm going to lean over and tap this girl and say to her, 'Your grandmother's here.' No." And I've always said to them, "You give me a sign and I will do it. You show me a way and I will do it." And I've even had bank managers who've said, "Hello, pleased to meet you. Sorry, I'm a bit upset today. It's the anniversary of," and people always say to me, "I don't know why I'm telling you this." And I go, "I do." And I could write a whole chapter in a book about the way that people have just come up to me and they've said, "I don't even know why I'm saying it to you." And I go, "I do, I'm a medium." And they go, "You're joking me." And they'll just start telling me. I've had people in banks, airports, airport security. I've had people at work who don't know what I do when I used to work in the hospital. I've had people from all walks of life.
Complete strangers.
Just complete strangers in shops start talking to me.
Have you had the same?
Yeah, they just get drawn. What it is, it's a spirit world,
It's just drawing them in.
Pushing them towards you, just so you can give them. And even if it's just for a minute, just to give them that wonderful energy that they want to give to them, to give them that spark, that hope, that everything's fine, everything's going to be fine, just hang in there.
And how do you see the future, Sandrea, for you and for you, Lyn, as mediums? Do you feel that they're, as we've said, people are more in tune now with what's happening and they want perhaps to seek different views, different opinions and things? How do you see the future for you?
I mean, I think I shall always be in work because people are always going to need that help and that guidance. I have a continuous supply of customers. Yes. Unfortunately, I'd rather not. Yes. But yes, I mean, there is such a great awakening. For a long time, I didn't teach, but I've started teaching people, doing workshops. People want to wake up. They want to, and usually the driving force, why do they want to wake up? Because they want to help others. They're not just driven, they're not just driven for self-motivation, what can I get out of this? Is they want to help others, they want to know more, they want to be able to help their children, they want to, and funny enough is that one of Louise's children, Ben, I'm sure she won't mind me saying, started to come to Lyn's class because he wanted to learn, to understand what had happened. He's in his 20s, I don't think I'm taking a child in. He wanted to understand what had happened to his family and to learn how he could help and protect his children if this happens again, and how he could help others.
So it goes back to what you were saying, if you haven't experienced it, then, but because he'd experienced it obviously with Louise, then he wanted to try and learn more about it and find out. And would you say the same, Lyn, when people, your future, people are going to come to you, how do you see it? Is there anything else you think you could do as a medium?
I think it's just coaching people, teaching them. I do teach a development circle, and you get more and more people, and they come from all walks of life. From all walks of life. That something sparks inside them, and then they want to learn a little bit more and a little bit more, and you've got people that sitting in that circle and have sat with me for 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 years. So they just want to move further on down that pathway, but they want to learn. But they want to be able to make that connection with their guide and spirit.
So can anyone, I'm going to ask you this question, Sandrea, can anyone become a medium?
Anybody can develop their psychic gift, their psychic ability, that they can talk to their guides, that they can make a communication, they can talk to their loved ones, which is what Lyn did at the start. I'm not saying everybody, and they can't, can become a medium who can stand on a platform, and that's very, very different. But as regards to develop yourself, your own personal development, that is open to anybody. You are born psychic. You came down here psychic. You lose it as you get older. Usually it's after 7, your magic friend goes, you no longer believe in fairies, you don't longer believe in goblins and angels and the magic world, and suddenly you lose all that. And then you become so entrenched in this world it goes. But it's there. It's just a case of tuning it in. It's like a radio station, is that you're not quite in tune with it. All you have to do is retune back what you were born with.
Excellent. Well, it's been fascinating to speak to you both. Thank you so much. And you're going to have to come and join us again for
Thank you very
show.
much.
But it's been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So that's it for today's show. Thank you to my guests, Sandrea, Louise and Lyn. And if you would like to get in touch with us here at Cuppa TV, you can join us on Facebook or Twitter at Big Centre TV. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for watching this Cuppa TV Halloween special. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.